We're here today enjoying a finished project that we've been working on with Steve and Liz. Steve and Liz have worked with us in order to design and deliver a new orangery project to their cottage overlooking the wonderful Worcestershire countryside. So I guess the first question is, what on earth possessed you to think that you wanted to do a building project?
This time round, you mean? Because
okay, so
we've lived here for quite a long time.
So you're a veteran of building projects.
I can tell you exactly, actually, because it was one of these things. We reached a certain time in our life, and we're trying to decide what to do, whether we stay here or whether we move on somewhere different. And so I remember sitting down in that seating area over there, and we looked at the house, and we were talking about the house, and I said, the only thing the house hasn't got is a big family room where, when we have family back, because they'd left by that time, and grandchildren, where we can all get together. And that's where it all started from, wasn't it?
It was having that entertaining room. We always felt it was the one thing that, being a cottage, it was the one thing that the house missed. We'd had that first little extension done off the kitchen, which we thought did the job, but of course it didn't really. And you know, never again, only 4 or 6 people could sit there, and we knew we just wanted somewhere with a nice space. Exactly as Liz says. So when the extended families came back all together, I always joked, and I perhaps had joked with you, Alex, that we'd spent all that money and had this big extension done just for Christmas Day and Boxing Day, because that's when all the family would be here, and including our dons, perhaps my sister and her kids. So so we're having this big room done for 2 days a year. But of course, I've been proved wrong in the fullness of time.
You started off with almost one idea of what you thought you wanted, and then at a certain point we changed, didn't we?
Yeah.
Can you talk about the initial thoughts and how that kind of worked and how we worked with you?
Because it was, yes, we wanted a bigger room, but then we were thinking, well, if we were having work done, then really it would be quite nice to do something in the bedroom, and we wanted to change the bathroom, the ensuite. And then we got carried, you're quite right, we had Mark 1, wasn't it? The project, the first design was the 2-story, and I'd forgotten about that actually. So we went away, and you came back, and you produced these beautiful plans, and they were fantastic, and yes. And again, there's something about the sitting area over there. There was something, we weren't comfortable with it. And the long and short of it was, I think, that we weren't sure about how that would look on the cottage, and getting this and then we thought it was all a little bit too grand for actually what we were thinking, what we really wanted.
Because I think, to start with, Liz, I think we thought that might make it look a better house. I think our initial thoughts were the look of it at 2 stories would work.
Yeah, you're right.
And we saw it, and we could just see sort of a wing coming off, which you see on lots of houses. We thought that would look fine. That's how we want the house to look. But you're quite right. We were sat down there probably with a cup of tea or a gin and tonic or something, and we just looked back and thought, we don't want that. We don't want that look. And so that's when we. And I think the bedroom as well. Well, you've just been. The bedroom's a decent enough size as it is. Why did we need a bigger bedroom? And also, the downstairs would have been slightly smaller then as well. I think the original design didn't give us such a. So we were compromising the downstairs to get this look of a 2-story extension, which we initially thought would be better, but then just thought, no, it looks too grand. And as you know, you've got to know us. We don't want grand really, and it just felt better to talk to you about perhaps just having a single story downstairs.
Can I say something about that then?
Oh,
because I think this is it absolutely is complimentary. Because can you imagine?
We said we wouldn't say that.
Can you imagine the two of us sitting there after all that work that you'd done and produced these beautiful plans, and then we're saying, what happens? How are we going to tell Alex? We don't want that. And I can remember worrying about that. And it is complimentary, because actually when you came, you said it's all about what we wanted. And if we weren't comfortable with it, then it was the right thing not to go ahead with it. And you didn't make us feel bad about it, awkward about it at all. You moved on virtually straight away.
We don't know what you were thinking, of course. We don't know what you were thinking. We don't know what you were saying back at the office.
You covered it really well, actually.
But in front of us, anyway.
Yeah, you kept smiling, didn't you? Do you remember
No,
that?
I do. I mean, it's one of the points, because it's not often that it happens, because I find that most people have a really good idea of what they want, and our job is to help them draw that and design it, and sort of design it out, as it were. So, you know, all those sort of matters of detail. But I actually really enjoyed it, because the purpose of drawing something is to test an idea on paper. And, you know, the last thing that you would have wanted to do, and the last thing that I would have wanted to happen, is for you to build the thing and then go,
we'd have moved.
I mean, going through all of that. So, you know, everything up until, and even, you know, we made some changes on site, just bits and pieces, but the purpose of architecture is actually thinking beforehand, what do we want, planning that out, agreeing that, and then seeing someone build that on site, rather than sort of making it up as you go along. And you see, you know, you kind of see, I guess I see a lot of houses that have just had an addition or an addition, and none of them kind of, they work individually, but the house doesn't kind of work. And, you know, what you've ended up with here is, you know, I think what you really wanted, and you said at the beginning, what we really wanted was that entertaining space.
Yeah, absolutely. Although, we might come on to it later, I said to you earlier before we started this, we feel absolutely comfortable in there, just the two of us. You know, it is the big entertaining space where we can have 8 to 10 people sitting around, we can have little kids running around. But every night, just the two of us go in, and we almost feel our bodies relax when we go in and sit in there. You know, we put the TV on, which is opposite us, and it doesn't feel, it's a clever mix somehow. It doesn't feel too big for the two of us. We're very comfortable in there, just the two of us. But at the same time, we can get 10 people in if we wanted. So that's quite clever in a way, that we don't feel we're in a barn when there's just the two of us. It still feels very cosy and very comfortable for two people. So it's worked both ways.
And I have to say, worrying about any addition that you add to a home and the building itself, a slight worry about what it's going to look like overall. And we actually, if I compare it to photographs from before, I think it looks much better with this on, which I wasn't expecting.
Yes.
I just thought it would be, and obviously it is an extension, but it's enhanced the front of the house. It made it more interesting, so that was good.
Yeah.
With yourselves, there was, if we say like the big idea that we were after, this space that we've sort of talked about, but there was a series of important details as well. And I think for yourselves, what I really realised is that you were very comfortable working with ourselves with the, not just as with the stage 1 plans, but the stage 2 plans. And I remember you going and you said, we've been through the plans, we're ready for our meeting. And you'd literally been through the plans, and you'd kind of like, which was absolutely brilliant. And so few people.
Are you sure?
No. And again, because it was like, you were reading the detail plans are more complicated because there's a lot of information, and in some ways they look a lot like the stage 1 plans, but there's a lot more detail on there. Sort of 2 questions. One, tell us about how you found that detail stage, and the second is talk a little bit about some of the key other details that were important to you in the project as a whole, in terms of, maybe it was the windows, maybe it was taking the wall down, maybe it was the oak doors with the glazing above. All of those things were very important to you and have really added to the space, I think. So any thoughts about that?
Oh, nothing comes to mind. What about you? Before I look, because I could talk.
No, I think so to answer the first bit, the detailed plans, I suppose you say nobody normally does it. I think we probably just assumed we should. That's all. So we did spend time together looking at them. And you're right. We were doing, trying to follow where the electric switch went, where it was, and how many lights that would turn on, and how many lights a different switch would turn on. But I think we realised it was. You were obviously the expert. But as I say, I think we just thought it was our job to do that because we were going to be the ones that were left here, living here. So. We had to make sure we were happy with it as well. Take all your ideas, all your design, but absolutely make sure that it was as we wanted it.
But do you know the other side of that? I think it was the enjoyment of that, because as you're doing it, you're looking forward and you know, imagining what the final. It makes you think about what the final version. You know, how the project will turn out.
And we certainly, even during the project, we'd come in when the guys had finished in the evening, we'd have a walk around, wouldn't we, and just make sure and check and compare it to the plans.
Andy was really pleased about that, wasn't he, Andy? Next morning.
We would compare it to the plans and say, hold on, this isn't quite what, you know, as we thought it would be. But I think, as I say, I just think we thought that was our job, in a way. It was our job to do that.
Any advice to people who was undergoing that stage of, you know, how much time they should spend, or you know, how it felt?
Advice, I think it is definitely well worth setting some time to do that, because it's only in the detail really that you end up getting exactly what you want. The last thing you want to be is disappointed because you didn't look at it and notice something. And of course it's always very difficult when, you know, you as an architect, you've got your ideas, but you don't know completely the person that you're dealing with, and you don't know all those little things that that actually matter to the client. And so it's that, I think, that we were able to add to the project. So it was all those little things that we're pleased. I'm not saying we're not pleased about everything, but you know, there are some things that we're pleased that we tweaked that in one way or another. So it's well worth doing that.
I can't really remember what they were now, but there were some things.
I'm sure.
And of course we understood and realised that it was better to make our suggestions or ask for changes at that design stage, rather than walk in one day after they built it and say, oh, we don't want that, can you move that light switch, or can you move, you know, instead of having 2 lights on that wall, we prefer 1 light. We knew that would be more costly, and perhaps even if it could be done, you know, it would be more of an issue than trying to capture it at the design stage and make sure we were happy. Then would make it, you know, simpler for people in the long run.
No,
I would just a rider on that. I think it is important, but I think perhaps, and the one example is the sockets on the floor. When Andy had actually put them in the perfect place. And we came along and said, no, we want them here. And Andy, you know,
well, it wasn't just Andy. It was also the drawing had got them in one place.
Yes, that's true. Sorry,
Andy was going to put them in that place, and we said, no, we don't think they'll work there, and we moved them, and we were wrong.
So it works both ways, and maybe listen a little bit more to you know, the experts.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it was a really fascinating. I personally found that quite distinctive about working with you both, and you know, we had you. Hopefully, we endeavoured to be organised, but you were very organised about it, and actually, our builder, Andy, who was on site, he was very organised as well. And I think that level of organisation through all the way through actually gave a very, very, what I consider to be a very polished, very beautiful project that you are very happy with, really. Just because you know, you had that ability to work at detail and enjoy. I think you enjoyed that process.
We did enjoy. I suppose that Liz said it earlier, and we did enjoy doing that as well. It meant we were more involved in the project. We weren't just handing it over to you. We felt more involved in it.
And there were some quite sort of important details to you, weren't they? That we actually, although you probably don't see it, there were some important conversations about. Yes, is the extension to the orangery, which is what everyone sees, but there was we went through several designs for the porch over the rear door, making sure that sort of tied in. Changing all the windows on this elevation.
When you ganged up on me.
You were right, though, weren't you?
Yeah. Me deciding that I quite like the square windows and rules in Liz's eyeline, but you two deciding quite rightly that the consistent theme from the orangery through to even the new window in the dining area, and then the new windows upstairs, to make them all much cleaner and looking similar, was the way to go. And
does that make an appreciable difference when you're in the space compared to
yes. For me particularly, because it was I had the problem.
It was at your eye line.
The eye line, But also it's light. It's all about light, and so ridiculously, just taking that crossbar out from the windows, let more light in, and it made a huge difference. And as you said, I think a clean, contemporary look.
Even though it's on a period cottage anyway, isn't it? But just cleaning those things up actually simplified the dormers and simplified.
Yeah, it did actually.
And just gave us simplicity, because it is a cottage, so cottages are more about simplicity. And really interesting. And the one thing was that we had all kinds of discussions about rerouting this sort of quite dreadful spaghetti junction of drain pipes, didn't we?
That was a massive improvement. The drain pipe that was going insane.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I know. And actually, that wasn't us. It was, I think you pointed it out.
Well, I might have kind of pointed it out.
You did, and it didn't occur to me that we could have had anything done about that. So I'm really grateful for that, because it's just changed it. It was a mess before, but you get used to it. When you're living in a place, you get used to it, and you just assume that's what you have to live with.
And the big design thing, which we mentioned earlier, is painting the beams, really.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if I'd have ever had the courage without you, or without saying, I really think you should go for it, because it's always been a cottage with the oldest part, 1860, and that it's a black and white. So black and white is what you have, and that's what you expect. So to actually say, no, we're going to paint the beams white, was a big step. But I mean, I don't think I haven't regretted it for a second since it was done. And the fact we then continued it on into the dining room.
And then finally, the matter of detail, and you were really very keen to get this because you tried it several times, and on this project we actually employed a heating engineer because you'd had so much trouble with your heating. And that was important to you both as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that's actually worked.
It's worked fine. It's worked fine. And I think it has.
Well, we haven't really put it to the test, to be fair. We've only had one winter, haven't we?
Well, that must be because we were warm enough. The underfloor heating works. And in fact, we probably over-engineered it, but that's typical of us to over-engineer it, because I think we've got one big radiator in that room that we just leave off, and that's perhaps because the heat. Perhaps we had, the sun comes in through through the lantern, and that keeps it warm enough. But because we can tell, we've got the underfloor heating's got a thermometer on it, and that works as well. We set it to whatever it is, 21 during the day, 16 at night, and that slab just keeps everything nice and warm.
Just on that, over engineering and whatever, I have to say probably for the first 2 months it was a bit of a mystery. We never really knew what we were doing.
Services,
what buttons to press or whatever. But I think you've got it worked out now.
Well, no, this autumn again, I'll have to get the instructions out again and start from scratch, but I do just about manage to do it. No, we were concerned, you're quite right, that's because the smaller room, which is half the size of the one now, was always quite a cold room. So we were concerned that once we made it twice as big, would it be warm? But so we had a whole new heating spur put through, and it's worked in our bedroom as well. Actually,
yes,
our bedroom, whether it's a combination of the insulation that you spec'd, or the fact we've got a new spur going to those two nice new radiators. Again, from being a room that was cold, once the temperature cold really outside, it was so cold inside. It's it's just a room now. So you almost forget, you don't notice because you're walking in, it's okay. So you don't think, this is a lot better. It just doesn't enter your head how it used to be.
And I think that's the thing about what people say about services. No one ever congratulates a service engineer for doing his job right. It's only when it doesn't work. That it's obvious, isn't it? Something's going wrong.
No. So that worked with the heating engineer. And we had some design changes there, didn't we, Alex? Because to start with, we insisted on having window ledges that you could sit on.
Yes, that's
and because of that, we were going to have some fans.
We were going to have a trench heater, weren't we?
Yeah. So thank goodness we changed that.
We were talking about the window seats, and that was something I thought would be really nice. At the beginning, I can remember having a conversation with you. So yes, we did change them. And the point I was going to make was the fact that was the beauty of everything, working with you. Nothing was ever a problem. And we'd discuss it, and you'd understand where we were coming from, and you did something about it, and you came back the next time, and it was all sorted.
And to be fair as well with Dave and with Andy, we went out to tender, and we chose
Tim Smith.
Yeah. And then Andy was the guy on site. But I mean, he worked well as well, and I think that's important to have somebody like him. Because everything, any changes or anything we suggested to him, he would say the same. She would say, "You've got to be happy with it. You've got to be happy at the end of the day." I mean, this patio was the one example, because they'd spent ages on this patio getting all the levels right, hadn't they? And then they came in the next day and you said, actually, and I don't know how to say this to you, but you wanted to change the flower bed, didn't you? Which meant the levels all had to be reworked to make sure. Of course, in our minds, we hadn't thought about levels for water running off properly and things like that. But I mean, no bother, did he? He never made you feel awkward at all.
I'm glad I did that, because that bed would have reached where Matt was, and so and I think he could see that as well. I think it was I don't think we were asking for it. He could understand why.
So having a good builder who you feel very comfortable with, and again, how many months were you? About 9 months, or was it longer? I can't even remember.
I think it was 8 months, wasn't it?
8 months.
Yeah.
I mean, to have somebody turning up at 7:25 every day for 7 or 8 months could get wearing, I would think, but actually it wasn't a problem. They were very good the way they blocked off half the house. So in fact, we had half the house to live in, and they had the other half to start with. But even when they opened it up, they were very comfortable.
I remember doing it with you. It was before we built it. We built it in as a digital model.
Oh, yeah.
And we did a couple of different versions with that. And another point of detail, wasn't it, getting the cornice thing right? Was that helpful?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Absolutely brought it to life. I don't, and the outside design, because we had the two different designs, and so we could actually zoom in and have a look at the detail and decide which one we liked the best. But also, for the first time, it gave us a view of what it looked like, which we wouldn't have known outside and inside when we went through and we saw the sun changing, and then it carried on through the room, through the doors, out into our existing hall. I mean, I don't know how we would have ever envisioned that without having that animation. So I thought that really worked.
No, I think as a client, I think that was a really nice thing to do, to have, because you probably would see it and be very comfortable and confident in creating whatever it is, room, whatever you might be doing. But for us, that gave us the confidence and reassurance, I think, that it was going to turn out okay.
Yeah, we could actually see the house and how it would look, which really it was only then and when it was finished. I mean, those were the two times, weren't they? Right at the beginning and right at the end, when we actually had any idea about what it might look like.
No,
it was a really good feature.
And then we also worked with a garden designer on this project, which has been absolutely transformational for the space as well, isn't it? And that was something that we talked about, and I said, well, we can do a little bit of terrace work, but this is such an important project, you maybe ought to consider using a garden designer.
Yes, and that's paid off.
Yeah. I mean, the space we're sitting in now is definitely part of his vision for the landscape.
Definitely.
And it's such an important part of the project for yourself, isn't it?
Well, I think it's the icing on the cake, isn't it? It finishes everything off. It brings everything together. I really hadn't anticipated how important this area would be, not only for living in it and using the space, but when you actually look at the house, it makes sense. It brings it all together. And I think you said earlier on, like tying everything in, or something. I don't know the words you used, but it balanced. There was the balance to the project. And I'm just so pleased that it was extra in terms of what we'd planned, but well worth it.
No, brilliant. So then we worked together on site, and there was a lot of, there's a fair amount of disruption, but you get the fun, and you said that you went round and looked at it sort of day by day. And then eventually, his covers start to come off, and you get the revealed project. So I guess, has it all been worth it is the question. Or why, what makes it all worth it?
Oh, well, I mean, I'm just hesitating really before I speak, because there's just no doubt that it could have been a room that we put on, and it would have, it could have been insignificant in the greater scheme of things. But for us, I feel you know, and we don't normally talk like this, but it really does give a wow factor to the house. People walk through, and we use the other door, so they're always coming in from behind, and they walk through, and the minute they sort of start to see the room opening out,
It's like a
they
surprise,
just
really.
stop,
Isn't it?
and they can't believe, and they stand and they look, and then it goes on, because they walk into that room then, and then they see the garden, and it opens up in front of them, and they absolutely understand why we've done it, because all of a sudden we're enjoying our garden, which we could never do before.
And that was one of the key things, wasn't it? It was like, although
was.
you couldn't, you know, you had a beautiful garden, but you could never, you weren't in it,
part
you
of
couldn't
it.
see it,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
couldn't get to it.
We couldn't. You actually had to be in the garden, outside in the middle of it, to enjoy the garden. I mean, let's be honest. It was quite a significant investment, and I don't know if it's added the value to the house. I don't know if the value of the house has gone up by the cost of the extension and all the work, I guess, because that would be unfair, because windows needed replacing and all sorts of, and plumbing needed attending to. So that was part of ongoing work anyway. But it almost doesn't matter whether we've got that investment back in terms of the value of the house, because it's made so much difference to us. I think, and we think we back at Liz said right at the beginning, you know, we made the decision that we were either, you know, should we move? No, we'll stay. So if we're going to have this work done, we're going to stay for 10 years, which is fine. You know, and we might stay longer, but as long as we stayed for 10 years, that would be great. It's made so much difference to our enjoyment of the house that, you know, almost whether it's been true value doesn't matter, because it's got value to us
a lot.
in terms of just being in the house and enjoying the house and knowing we've got that room. And even like we say, we're still looking at it 12 months on, still looking at the room and thinking, wow, this is a fantastic room.
And it's come,
yeah.
you know, full circle from that thought about having a family room.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's that, I think, that I thoroughly enjoy, is when the family are here. It works so well. The one area moving into another, and the children, and actually the children are now in the garden. And mine never were in
No.
that way,
Yes.
quite the same
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
And so we're delighted with that side of things as well. So
Yeah.
it's good.
No, we haven't got any regrets at all.
Negatives,
We've
no.
never had a single regret about
No.
having it done.
No.
We've almost forgotten, but it wasn't all downstairs that we did. Although we didn't do the two-storey
Yeah.
design, we did feel that we could actually help you with your bedroom
Yeah.
a little bit. So it's a little bit unusual.
It is unusual, yeah. And I think that was just looking through one of your, either the website or something I'd seen. I thought, oh, that's nice, and you picked up on that, and you've made it work, haven't you? Yeah. And I think what we particularly like is, you know, the fact that it's it's not just your run-of-the-mill ensuite created by 2-3 walls put together. It's a bit more creative thought has gone into it, in the fact that you've got that circular wall.
Got the curve.
It adds to the bedroom, you know, and it's only us that ever see it, but we're
I
delighted
think
with
you had
that
done
as
it
well,
somewhere
aren't
before,
we?
that those vertical planks, or planks of wood, to make it a feature. So again, you know, when people see that, not many do, but when they do, it's another wow. It's
Yeah.
another wow as soon as you see it, which we've got used to now, obviously after 12 months. But it is, and you know, the architect's curve that the builders all hate, obviously, because they want straight walls, and they always complain that architects put curves in. But you know, they managed it, and they did that. And I think, and we've joked about it, haven't we, Alex? That it is a bit like a TARDIS. You know, it doesn't look that big from the outside, yet we've got this fantastic walk-in shower, wet room. You know, one of my things I insisted was to have that flat floor in there, and we've got that. You know, it feels a much bigger space inside than it looks from the outside.
So I guess we may well have always covered this, but the single best thing about the project.
The room has just transformed the whole house. Within the room, the lantern.
I guess.
It wouldn't be the same without the lantern.
It wouldn't be. And that's what we wouldn't have had with the original two-storey design, of course. We'd have had a flat roof.
Yes.
We wouldn't have had the lantern.
Yeah.
And it is the lantern is really good. It just makes it feel so much better. And it is the room, but it's that link between the room and the garden, I guess. Yeah. The fact that when you're in the room, you see the green, you see the sky.
This just being in the garden like
I remember
this.
when Brian and Viv came round, or some friends came round, and he said, "Look at that sunset. Look at the clouds, because the sunset's we can see it from our room." And of course, that's what we see every night. So you don't even think about it anymore. But somebody who doesn't sit in a room and can just turn their head and see the sun setting. So the fact that it's the room and the garden all linked in together, I think it's just fantastic.
Well, that's really fantastic. Well, just a big thank you really to you both. It's been a real pleasure working with you. It's been a real adventure. You know, the project isn't that big in one way, but so much attention from yourselves, and you obviously, it meant so much to you. You're willing to work with us in order to make sure that you get that detail right, and it's just delivered so much for the house, hasn't it? And it's just so, to be sitting here in this beautiful garden, looking out over the view.
But even looking at the extension, looking at the orangery as well, you look at it and you think that's nice.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for your time.
No, thank you.
Just want to thank Steve and Liz for their time, talking us through their particular journey on how they have thought and designed and worked with us in order to deliver this project on site. There's nothing better than actually to review a project with our clients and understand what the real value is for them, what they really enjoyed about the project, and the difference it's made to their lives. The vision at Communion Architects is to transform space, to transform people's lives. And I really enjoyed hearing from Steve and Liz about how it has transformed their space and transformed their lives. I was really interested in this particular podcast in order to drill down into the detail stage, our stage 2. It's often quite a complicated stage. We're working with technical documentation in order to make sure that we design everything in detail, in order to make sure that the contractors can price it accurately, and in order to make sure that all the little things that make a building project come together. And Steve and Liz actually really responded well to that stage. They enjoyed it, they gave themselves the time, they went through the drawings and made sure that as far as they could see at that time, everything was just as they wanted. And that was a really enjoyable experience. Not just when their family comes back, which was the original vision, but on a day by day, sitting in the evening, looking over what is a beautiful, beautiful view and a beautiful, beautiful garden. I really hope that you enjoyed that conversation. For us at Communion, a conversation is such an important part of the design process. And we hope that this conversation has helped you think about your next project.